Hi everyone, it's me, Sandy Cruz of Sandy K Nutrition, Health and Lifestyle Queen. For years now, I've been bringing to you conversations about wellness from incredible guests from all over the world. Discover a fresh take on healthy living for midlife and beyond, one that embraces balance and reason without letting only science dictate every aspect of our wellness. Join me and my guests as we explore ways that we can age gracefully with in-depth conversations about the thyroid, about hormones, and other alternative wellness options for you and your family. True wellness nurtures a healthy body, mind, spirit, and soul. And we cover all of these essential aspects to help you live a balanced, joyful life. Be sure to follow my show, rate it, review it, and share it. Always remember, my friends, balanced living works. Hi everyone, welcome to Sandy K Nutrition, Health and Lifestyle Queen. This week I have a lovely guest. Her name is Cathleen Beerkens, and we are going to talk about a lot of what she writes about in her book. And really, it's how to combine the body, the mind, the spirit, and the soul to truly optimize your wellness. And she's also the author of the book called Your Creator Matrix. And really, it's the entire concept of well-being and existence through blending all of those things: self-awareness, healthy habits, the mind, the spirit, the soul. I've been talking about this for years. And then Cathleen came to me through, I don't know what agency, and I just so resonated with her book. And I resonate with the topic because I've been talking about this importance of this blend of all of these things to optimize our wellness for so many years. I mean, I have been part of a very scientific community. I was part of the biohacking community. And then I'm like, I don't know, you guys, like you kind of go through life, and I've been on this journey ever since, I guess it would be, when was that? 2010. When my daughter was diagnosed with cancer at the age of 5. And I keep getting involved and learning and seeking. And I do believe that this is what life is about. We are naturally seekers if we choose to see, and if we choose to learn. And, I turned 55 this year, and I feel like I'm learning something new every day. And, I'm not saying anything's wrong with you. If you want to retire, hey, by all means. I feel like I'm just getting going. I've been doing a lot of these lengthy meditations lately in the last couple of weeks with my friend Brenda Ferrugia of sobrilliant.ca. I've recorded with her twice. And a lot of what she does really resonates with me. I did 2 of these beam therapy sessions lately, as well as a lengthy meditation. So these meditations are really never shorter than an hour and a half. And one of the things that Brenda has taught me, that there are no shortcuts. And I think that, when we see, just put yourself in this frame of mind and poof, all your manifestations will come true. Well, it's not that easy. And Cathleen and I get into some of this, and, it takes work. It takes work. We can't just meditate for 5 minutes a day and go, okay, now all my manifestations are going to come true. Poof, magic. I feel like when we are seekers, we see things and we optimize our wellness as we get older because we see things through our intuition, through our meditations, through our self-awareness. And all of that is optimized by eating whole, real foods. I'm always like 80-20 rule, people, 80-20. 80% of the time, I eat things that really, for the most part, I would say serve my body because they're whole, real foods. And then 20% of the time, it's pleasure. And that's okay too. So this conversation is really going to be an interesting one. Check out Kathleen's book, Your Creator Matrix. I think it's pretty much available anywhere. And I'm going to ask you a favor. Okay. I think that our world has gotten used to consuming, just consuming. I can go on Amazon right now, put it in my cart, and get it tomorrow. Sure, I got to pay for it. But my point is, I don't even have to go to the store to get what I want anymore. We're just such consumers now of everything, objects, information. And we get used to this where we consume on social media and often we don't even say thank you. And the person behind that post probably did some work, a lot of work to do or share, to do that post, to share that information. And so I am going to ask you to, wherever you're listening to this podcast, go ahead and rate it and review it because that helps me get amazing guests like Cathleen each and every week. Share it with a friend, share it through Instagram, Facebook, whatever, because that's, again, how you say thank you for consuming whatever it is that I'm putting out there if it is helpful for you. Thank you. And I say thank you for doing that. And thank you for being a loyal listener. And also be sure to follow me on Instagram. I've had this really weird burst of creativity lately where I have a lot of this stuff in my brain and a lot of these things that I do, that I use, that optimize my wellness. It could be how I look externally. I shared a post last week and my little magic trick for rosacea, which is something that I kind of struggle with. And I just had this burst of energy and of creativity. And I think maybe it has something to do with all this meditation I've been doing, but I love it. And it feels really good to share. And what feels really good is to share it without discount codes. And the reason I love it is because it's saying to you, hey, I'm really passionate about this and I'm sharing this because I love it. It's helped me. And I'm giving you some breadcrumbs for you to go and research and see if it makes sense for you. And, one of my best friends from childhood, she said to me, you are literally the best person as it relates to doing research and selling products. And I'm like, I'm not even selling products. Sure, sometimes I am an affiliate for companies and brands that I really believe in, but it's because I share such a passion for sharing. When I hear or read or research or find out something new and exciting that could help someone. And, I've had this weird situations in the past where people will take my information and, they will somehow weaponize it. And I'm like, whoa, I'm not trying to hurt anybody. I'm trying to help people. I'm trying to help people live better lives. That is the energy behind everything that I do with Sandy K Nutrition. So I appreciate it. I appreciate you. I appreciate that you come back and that you follow my podcast wherever you're listening. And I hope you really enjoy this conversation. And hey, if you feel so inclined, drop me an email. Let me know. Sandy at sandyknutrition.ca. All the information about Kathleen's book and her community will be linked in the show notes. I will also have my Substack in there. I'm also a writer, and I have a second podcast that I started that is a short form podcast for the people who support me on Substack. That link will be in the show notes as well. It's sandycruz.substack.com. Thank you and have a great week, guys. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Sandy K Nutrition, Health and Lifestyle Queen. Today with me, I have a special guest. Her name is Cathleen Beerkens. Kathleen graduated from the University of Maryland with a Bachelor of Science in Health Education in 1983 and continued her education by receiving a BSN from Georgetown University Nursing School. Yes, that's right. You are a former nurse in
Yeah.
1985. She began her nursing career at Georgetown University Medical Center in Washington, D.C., where she worked for 11 years in various positions. She also spent many years as a teacher's assistant at the Georgetown University Nursing School, conducting childbirth education and working with midwives. Beerkens is the founder of A Wellness Revolution, an institute for integrative nutrition based in Amsterdam, the Netherlands.
Exactly.
Yeah. And we are going to talk today about how to combine body, the mind, the spirit, and the soul to truly optimize our wellness. Now, Kathleen also has an incredible book out called is it A Creator Matrix
I'll
or
show you.
the
Your creator.
Your Creator Matrix? There we
Yeah.
go.
If you can see it.
Yeah, it kind of blanks in
Oh,
and
I
out.
just go like this. There we go.
There we go. It's called Your Creator Matrix.
Yeah.
Now, I do get a lot of books, but I did scan through most of it, and it was fascinating to me because not a lot of people that I interview combine all of these facets to our wellness.
Yeah.
And Kathleen has done this. So I'm going to ask everybody to kind of hang with us because we're obviously not going to break down the entire book, but we are going to break down and talk about some really important concepts because I talk about the body, the mind, the spirit, the soul all the time. And so it's rare for me to meet somebody who's like written something about this. This is different than anything I've recorded about. And with that, welcome. I am so happy to meet you, Kathleen.
Oh,
And
Sandy.
I'm excited for this conversation.
I'm
And I think
grateful.
it's,
Thank you for having me.
yeah,
Thank
I
you.
think it's important that we begin with your background because you do have a medical background.
Yes. And I have an entire family of doctors. It's crazy. Even my son is a cardiologist at Mount Sinai Fellow. And I have a grandfather, and my dad was a PhD in chemistry and all like pharmacy and doctors. And so I was in the system and I was a nurse at Georgetown. And I now I'm really going in the like what we would call lifestyle medicine. So I'm a PhD candidate actually in a university in Europe trying to do, I'm also going to be doing some research on nutrition. I think that's going to be my research for humanity. But at this point, at the time when I was young, I was like a young girl and I was a little bit thinking to myself, wow, this world is really quite chaotic. Like it didn't feel happy. And my parents did their best and they seemed okay, but it was just all the other things. My mother was a civil rights, she was a political activist for Cesar Chavez and Martin Luther King. So they were, and when I did research, so later I found out that actually I have a great great grandmother on that side who was one of the pioneers that founded came over in the early part, Daughters of the American Revolution, and she literally was a suffragette. So I had so much I didn't know about my background, but I was young and I was kind of lost, I would say. I felt like I could see things and I had certain abilities. They would never be understood at that time. It was sort of like no one even asked, actually. I didn't understand it myself. I was just, kind of going through my life and raised very Catholic. So I was just really very trying to, I felt spiritual in the sense that I was always very connected this way, but I was still lost here. Earth seemed rather difficult. But I was very clear. Like as a young woman, I wrote in the book that my dad invited me to Walter Reed Medical Center to see their new hospital. When I went there, I had a like kind of an intuition or a feeling I need to work in a hospital. That's it. I knew it. I was only 15. So I then kept studying psychology, biology, and I realized that it wouldn't be good for my family if I went into medicine because we had too many kids, 6 kids in 7 years. My parents were having a divorce, and I thought, no, I just go on to nursing school. It's more realistic at this point for the family. But it was also much harder for me because doctor was easy. Like you sit there and tell some, but the nursing. Oh my word, these 11 years, they were the hardest thing. You have to listen. You have to listen with your soul if you're really in nursing. You're always around the pain. You're always in the reality. It's intense. I love nurses. I think they're amazing because it's such a commitment. It's so hard. And yet I did it, and then I was so burned out. After I had my first 2 kids, I was like exhausted. I no, there's no one there in the hospital saying, "Oh, you have to take care of yourself. Oh, you have to do this." Oh, nobody. So that became very awkward because how can you really take care of another when you're not taking care of yourself? It's impossible. I had a Dutch husband. We came to a critical point. I write about it in the book that he had 2 job offers, and one was in New York at the World Trade Center, and one was at a family company in Europe. And I wanted to go to New York because I wanted to get my master's. I wanted to continue to study and research and all this, but it was clear in my heart that that was the wrong thing to do. I just knew it. I said, honey, I don't know why, but we can't go to New York and not now. We have to go to Europe. And that's really hard for me because I have to leave everyone behind, but we're going to do it and it's going to be okay. So we went, and like literally within a couple of years, the World Trade Center fell, and I knew, and he would have been in the 77th floor. I was really like, so sometimes when you listen to your inner knowingness, you get messages. And I've just always been very good at doing that. I think that's where we're going. Humanity's going to learn this. Maybe we one time knew it, but we have to go back there because we have to learn to look within and not just outside of us. We will have the answers. But that's a little bit of my history. And then I founded education. I train health and wellness coaches for the national board, very high level, because I believe that my role is to help the medical system become more holistic, to help the medical system that is deeply flawed heal as we heal. That is my mission.
So you're blending science
Yeah.
with holistic. And I find that really fascinating because typically who you're speaking to or educating wouldn't be so open.
Yeah, but after COVID, and this is about timing, everything's sort of timed. So you're right. This message 20 years ago would have been terrible. And it was. And I already was against the wall a lot because I was helping people heal also with energy and with nutrition, and even nutrition was not looked at. anyway, there was a big kind of, what's been happening. So I was sort of up against walls all the time in all fronts, whether it was body, mental, spiritual. And by the way, even in the hospital, the fact that they separated all the things, like the mental ward, like what is that about? I worked on a mental ward at one point, and I never met a person who was mental who didn't also have a physical problem. Like that is not
Yes.
that is not
Yes.
normal. So there was a disconnect in the hospital, and there's a disconnect in our world.
Okay.
And
I have to
yeah,
ask you this. Have you heard of this?
yes,
This you
yes,
have. Of
yes,
course you have. So messages from the body. He was
yes,
I think he was a psychologist that worked
yes,
in
right.
many mental institutions where
There you
he
go.
would analyze his patients' physical ailments to their mental ailments. I
Yeah, there
love
you
that you brought that up, Kathleen.
Well, I mean, I just saw the disconnections all over the place. I was very aware. And it wasn't just that, it was also emotions. Nobody even talked about it. What the heck? It was so obvious to me that the emotions are so huge. They're like messages to us and we're ignoring them. It doesn't make any sense. So for me, I definitely want I like I said, I know that book. I work with people who are healers. I say they help people heal now. I don't want to say healers anymore. They help people heal because I believe in self-healing now. But I work with people who work on that level, and I work on that level now of that book you just showed. So there's always a message in the body. The body is our temple, and we are just energy in a body with an emotional body, and all of it's together, but we haven't been trained to understand how to function. And so your creator matrix actually means you are creating your reality with the body, mind, spirit, soul all the time, even if you don't realize it. And that's what we didn't realize. Humanity did not realize that we were creating our reality. We felt victim, and we just didn't feel we had any power when I was young. And that's why the whole 1960s came. This revolution started of, wait a minute, maybe I'm more. Maybe we are important as human beings. Maybe we have a mission here. Maybe we really do. And maybe we have to think differently. And that was the whole radical thing of the 60s. And then we saw everything continue to evolve 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. And now here we are, 2025. Can you imagine? And people are now waking up to the fact that they create their reality, but it's very hard to become it. Like we can know it. We can say, oh, yeah, I can imagine we co create. I say co create our reality. But then things are not showing up very fast, or I'm thinking it, I'm trying to manifest it, I'm trying to think it, but it's not coming. And so, what I've done and I've tried to help people to understand is that when we have blockages on any level, and even the soul level, we will not manifest very easily because we're in a very dense energy on earth, and it's slow, but it is changing because we are in a changing time. We are in an awakening of consciousness, a very quickening of consciousness, which means that we see more suddenly. We have more power to manifest. We have more power to see our blockages. We have more abilities, and that will just, in my opinion, continue.
Let's back up a little bit to this one statement because I want to kind of
Yep.
go in order so that people
Sure.
get it.
Yeah.
So you are a creator.
Yeah.
Everybody on this planet is a creator in their own story.
True.
What does that mean?
Yeah, that's great. So, so by the way, when I say that we are awakening to this, I think it's the chit chat on TikTok, all the young people who are talking about it, but truly it's coming. What does it mean? It means that we are creators in our own right. Our internal reality is reflecting, like what's happening on the outside of us is only a reflection of our internal state. Everything is frequency in the universe, everything. And we are creating through our thoughts, our words, our belief systems, and our whole being. Like like I give you an example. We want a house. We want to change our house. We're thinking that thought. Someone doesn't come to you and say, "Hey, you're born." I wish they did. You're gonna go through life, and through your very thoughts, you're gonna influence your reality. They don't do that, right? I wish we had that, but we don't. But that's what we need to do to our children. We need to say, look, your thoughts are powerful. What you think about yourself really matters. Have you ever met people, Sandy, who just they don't talk, but that you just feel they don't love themselves? They don't have
Totally.
any self-esteem.
Totally. Even
And
how
then,
they carry themselves. Like they
yes,
might be more slumped over. They might be, yes, their frequency, their vibration, and we'll get into that, is much lower. And
yes.
people can feel that.
Yeah. And so we could say that a lot of humanity, most of humanity, has been in that state for eons. We've been in what we call the dark ages of humanity. And yeah,
COVID really enhanced that, everyone. I'm
yeah, COVID
sorry.
was the awakening.
It was like we were put in a dungeon
Yeah.
during COVID and all of those
Darkness.
feelings. Yes,
It was an
absolutely.
opportunity, Sandy, to embrace our dark side, let's say. And let's say we didn't embrace it for eons because it was hidden, because we couldn't see it. So it was like there, but it was festering. It was sort of like these behaviors and this way we thought about everything and everything. We were sort of in a matrix. Actually, that word matrix is kind of funny. You could say we were in a matrix. What is a matrix? It's a system. We were in a system of beliefs, of the way of living, and we only could go to a certain frequency. We weren't able to sustain that much high frequency at that time. That there's a lot of reasons for that, but the year in 1960s, what happened was actually, and this is NASA wrote about this, the Earth started to go towards a photon belt, a galactic photon belt. Like let's say the Earth travels in space, and it was traveling in a dark space for a long, long time. And suddenly, can you imagine it's getting to a light? And that was the 1960s. And now we're in the photon belt. Guess when that happened? 2020. So it's like, oh, wow. So suddenly the lights went on. The lights all over the earth went on. And we woke up. It was like we were almost forced to wake up and see things. But then we saw everything. We saw the realities, and they were not easy. Can you imagine? So being a creator, getting back to that, because that was the question. It's hard to take it. It's hard to believe it that we could impact our reality on such a level that we could be bringing into our reality what we believed we could. But we're starting to see through science, quantum physics, that this is our reality. That we actually are all one. We're energy, like you and I. We are connected now in a field of energy. Um, Perhaps we won't even have to talk in the future. We'll just communicate telepathically. I can imagine some of the new kids do that. And but right now we have to talk to communicate. But if we don't talk and we settle ourselves and we just go in, we already know things. You just
Hmm.
have to believe that you do, right? Don't you know things? If you're in a room, you can read the room, you can.
Kathleen, I've had people go, "Oh, really?" Like think I'm weird, but I I can, if you put me in a restaurant and there are a bunch of people sitting around me,
Yes.
if I get quiet, I can probably tell you something about each person
Yeah.
because I'm able to feel whatever it is that they're putting off. Like I
Yeah.
can even look at somebody, even on a photograph, I can look at somebody. I can almost feel something about them. But it's like you have to get quiet to
Yeah.
be able to do it.
And you have to trust. And these are the claircognition. This is the new senses that we have, but they're underdeveloped. So we have our five senses. We're very stuck to what we see, what we smell, and all this, and very linear, right? But we aren't linear. We're multidimensional. So what's happening to us now is we're being kind of stimulated to realize that we're not linear. And it's getting more complex and we're starting to see that we're not linear. And so our science is behind. It hasn't caught up. It's like imagine we had a science and we had math and everything explained this linear world we lived in, and that was the matrix. Well, that matrix is falling apart. Now we're going to a new world, and now we're like having to get we're seeing more, so we're like, oh, that science wasn't completely correct. Oh, that math, well, that might not have been completely correct. Oh, well, the way we look at medicine, oh, we could be looking more holistic. Oh, yeah, we have kind of lost that. So we're in a like, this is what we're in right now. We're in every field, education, you name it. This is what's happening.
Okay, so you want to hear something it's interesting that we're talking about that this week because this week I've had thoughts about how a lot of systems that are in place are designed to keep us numbed to those senses,
There
Kathleen.
you go. There you go. And
Right?
they're
And I was
not right, right. They're not
right.
allowing us, they're not allowing us to expand. They're not when we went to expand, they put us down. And when we said, oh, it's what about emotions? Could they be influencing our physical state? They shut me up in the hospital. We don't have time for that. I mean, I could go on and on, but I don't think we should look back. We should look forward. I believe quantum physics says what you focus on expands. Be careful what you focus on. We need to focus on the future. We need to focus on what earth we want. We want an earth that we agree we're spirit in a body and we stop fighting about it. It's like, really? You're going to still fight with me? Like everyone on the planet is going to fight with me that we are spirit in a body when that has been proven in science now? It's ridiculous. It's like a fight that it doesn't even make sense because in quantum physics, it's clear we are spirit in a body. It's having a temporary physical experience.
Yeah, I think that this is fascinating because everything that I do, I'm a big believer that we have feelings, we have big
Yeah.
feelings. And while we want to remain as much as we can in that mindset, like you said, looking forward or looking to the present moment and forward as opposed to looking back, we have to be able to adopt certain practices. And a lot of these
Yeah.
practices you have in your book to be able to move through certain feelings and vibrations that are not so great, but we got to move through it in order to get through and get to that, new world as you speak of. Does that make sense to you?
Yes. And it's okay if people listening feel sad about the old falling. There's a period of mourning we're going through. We're all mourning that this old world didn't work. It's sort of like if you think about it collectively, on some level, we're all souls we've committed to this old world for a long time. I have anyway. I was born a long time ago. But I also went through that kind of sadness of what's happened to the world. It's not what I thought. It's scary. It's even more weird than I thought. And so, yes, allow yourself the space to grieve the old, but realize that when you're going to go through this change, which is we call it a spiritual awakening, it's quite a challenge for the body, mind, spirit. The whole complex has to change. Like it's not just that you change a thought or that you start seeing that the world is different. It's that everything in your world starts to not fit anymore. Like your old friends and your body, you start to feel different things that you maybe have been avoiding. Maybe emotions are coming up. This is why in COVID, you could look at it as a spiritual exercise that we needed to be quieter. We needed to quiet down and have more quiet time to digest the change that was going to happen. And that's crazy to think about, but in the end, we were all much more alone than we ever have been.
Mm. So Another quote from your book is that health and wellness is a journey of personal choice. So
Yeah,
this is like we were looking more at a macro level. Now
yeah.
let's bring it more to micro. What do you mean by that statement?
Well, once you start to realize that you have choices all the time about everything and that you're not a victim, that you're not a that you literally are more powerful than you realize, you start to realize that you are free, you are actually free to make a choice in every situation. But you have to realize that. And one of the things about health and wellness is this is one of the things I realized. People came into the hospital, like, let's say illness is here and wellness is here. There's a continuum, right? And they were all over here. Obviously, they were very sick and they didn't even know it. Like, I was shocked that nobody knew they had cancer or any symptoms, very rare. They didn't know they had these, whatever they had. And they were shocked, wow. So I had to say to myself, well, how did we get here? Like what happened? Why were we so disconnected from ourselves that we didn't even realize we were here? And that was my research for all these 20 or 30 years. And what I started to realize is that in this world, how it is, and the duality and the heaviness and the toxicity, and we're not going to make it all so negative but it has been quite something. What I realized is that you had to kind of work at it. You're not just going to get there. It's not even about prevention because honestly, prevention's like, oh, I'll do a couple things and then I'll be healthy the rest of my life. Well, perhaps. But what I started seeing is that actually you had to work on all those areas and nobody was telling us about it. So if you think of your creator matrix, you have your own matrix divinely given to you that has all aspects body, mind, spirit, emotions. And you have to be able to make sure all of those are in harmony with each other. And nobody teaches us about that. So we're sitting there at a loss to how to care for our creator matrix. And so my book tries to say, look, the science is farther than we realize. We have not been taught it. Our medical school, I know because my son just finished medical school and residency. They were not even taught the most important sciences only from a pharmaceutical perspective. That's not okay. I'm not saying you don't need pharmacy. Sometimes you need it. I'm a nurse, but honestly, to be chronically dependent and take no responsibility except for to take a pill every day, that's not where we're going. We need to take more responsibility for ourselves and we need to not be afraid, but we need to know how. We need to know how to care for ourselves.
Um, so eh, I'm fully aligned with you. I mean, there's going to be incidents though where you might have a blip, you might have a miss. Like one thing I don't like to do, how would I say this? I don't want it to seem like if something happens in terms of an
No,
illness, it was your fault.
no,
You
but
see
that's
what I
not
mean?
true. But that's not true because we're co-creating and we're living in an environment that's not healthy. So everything about it has not been healthy. I don't have time. I write about it in the book, but it is fairly dark from the way we treated our food, from the way and it's not just one industry. They're all corrupted. So it couldn't be possible to say it's anyone's fault. Everything is influencing everything. There are many causes to the effect. But do I believe that someday we will be in a different world where we will realize the power of our thoughts and have power over this? Yes. But then our thoughts have to be quite powerful. And right now, we haven't even been trained to think that way. So, how can there's no blame. And by the way, guilt and all of those emotions are very low frequency.
Yeah.
So, when you get somebody in that state, they get ill. I am not, I believe that we just have to like love each other where we're at, be compassionate and really be compassionate for all but not do it anymore for everybody. Like I used to be like, oh, I'll help you. Oh, I'll do a healing. Oh, no, no. I got so wiped out because no one took any responsibility and I was just doing all of it. So that's not good either. And those, you know what those were on the triangle? So you have your victim, you have your perpetrator, and you have your saviors. And I was programmed for generations to save everybody, but you cannot save people. They have to do it themselves. And that's the grow up period. I would say that is the time we're in that's kind of heavy because it's like, you know how when adolescents don't want to take responsibility for doing their homework and they don't want to, it's like all new. They have to change, they have to do something different. Well, we're all asked now to change like really fast without a lot of help and a lot of guidance. And that's tough. And there's a lot of news out there that's not even true. So people are going, what's true? What's not true? Oh my goodness. I don't even know what's true anymore. I mean, fake news. Well, it is very difficult. So I say the more aligned you get in yourself, the more you're going to be able to know what's good for you. And don't let anyone else tell you. You will feel it. You will know if this is, you'll get a if you're really connected to yourself, and that's what I think people have to work on now, going
Yes.
in. And if you're really connected, you're suddenly just going to feel like this really excited feeling when you're on the right path. I can't explain it, but it's really wonderful.
Have you seen the movie? It's older. It's called Inner Worlds, Outer Worlds.
I haven't, but I can imagine what it is.
So it's
Yeah.
exactly what you're talking about. It's a little bit of an older documentary, and I think, it certainly didn't have a high budget or anything, but it's about that. It's about how we are constantly seeking answers about ourselves outside of ourselves. Even
Yeah.
still, Kathleen, I've been speaking about this whole thing where maybe you have some insight into this about how, especially over the last year or so, I've been seeing people in the space of wellness in a different way. Meaning, there are some who are there out of true authenticity, really
Yes.
just wanting to help the world. And then there are others who are there for greed,
Mm,
power, ego, like,
yes.
listen to me. Listen to
Yeah.
me, Sandy Cruz. I know everything about you. And what
Yeah.
I'm saying is right. And what you're saying is wrong. And
Yeah.
I'm seeing all of that, Kathleen. And I'm like, whoa. And I've even had people comment on posts that I've made where they're like, "Well, who do I trust then?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"You trust you."
Yeah.
So,
The thing is, you're bringing up such a good point. The
yeah.
thing, the thing is, look, we're in a world of duality, and that's a very hard concept. But we've been learning, and you could say Earth is a school. And we've been learning about ourselves through playing the dark side, playing the light side. But what's happening now is as people are awakening, they're going above duality when they're ready. They're like, oh, do I really need to be the murderer? Do I need to be this person who's raped? I think I'm done with those stories. Those are really not stories I want to partake in anymore. I'm ready for this other world, this world that we learned all this hard stuff in duality. Now we're ready to transcend it. Now that's a hard thing to imagine, but that's where I think we're going. So when people, because we've played out so many storylines by now, and that's where our movies came in, because even if we didn't have the story, we could watch a movie, and then it's like the neuroscience shows us that as we're watching a movie, it's happening to us. Like that's the weird thing. It's almost like we didn't need to have all the stories because we have all these movies right now. So our technology is quickening as we are transcending. In other words, that outside reality is mirroring us. So what I think is, how can we how can we know? I think the thing is, when people are still in the duality, they're still lack consciousness. They don't know who they are. They haven't stepped into their true being, that they are divine, that they can manifest what they want. They have faith in themselves. They love themselves. When that's not happening yet, then they're very much in that old paradigm of survival. And we need to go way beyond survival. When you see heroes, truly, what is a hero? I think a hero in any story has been one that did transcend the difficult thing, that did go above and didn't just survive. They made they made some, and they didn't just do it to be the hero. They did it out of pure love for the other. And I think that's where we're going. But that's such a weird thing because people mostly think That's not possible to get there. Well, that's not true. If we believe it, it can be created. So we need to start focusing on that. And we need a lot of people out there to be trained to help people to heal because there's so many wounds that are keeping people in the lack, that are keeping people. And you asked about being a creator. Well, we create through our thoughts and belief systems. And if those thoughts and belief systems are, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm never going to make it. Oh, I'm like pathetic. I'm not talented. I have nothing. Well, guess what? Then we create that.
Yeah.
So because we create from that, and I always teach my students, we have the belief, we have the emotion that goes with it, and then the storyline. So what's the belief? The belief is I'm not good enough, let's say. And then the emotion was sadness. So they're constantly sad about that, but they don't realize it because that is in the subconscious. It's not in the conscious. It's not here, but it's becoming more here as we are going through this time. More people are realizing, wow, something's not right with me. I'm kind of always sad. And you know what? How many of us go ask our friends, our dearest friends, tell me the truth. What do you see in me? What could I improve? I'm doing my best here, but something's just disconnected, and I need your help here. But they're scared of that. They're scared of the truth because they're afraid they're not good enough, right? So if that person confirms they're not good enough, there's no hope for them. But that's not true. If we could realize that we can change it, that actually we have power to change the subconscious. We have power to change those storylines. We have power to change those emotional blockages. We really do. We then can change our life.
So one of my things is I'm an English literature graduate.
Great.
That was way back. I'm also a writer. And one of my things is language and choice of words are very important because they're tied to meaning and emotion.
Yeah.
So, back to the whole thing about disease and illness and how we co create in a lot of the things that might happen to us. One of the things I don't say is my thyroid cancer
Yeah.
or my, right? So,
Yes.
I know you would totally resonate with this.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
to me, that immediately will put your vibration kind of down here, as opposed to me saying, yeah, I had thyroid cancer. Yeah, it happened to me. Yes, we dealt with it. Yeah, I had some struggles. And it's not about um, putting a fancy bow on what happened. It's saying it happened, but it ain't mine.
Yeah.
And it actually helped to fuel who I am today.
It was kind of It was like sometimes our hardest things that happen to us are triggering us right now with that for that spiritual awakening. So I talk about that in the book that sometimes we manifest a disease or we manifest imbalance or we manifest mental issues or whatever to help us come back in because we have been too out there. We need to come in. So there's a balance, a kind of balance between yin and yang, and we're very yang, and we don't take enough time to go in and digest and rest and digest. So that's literal. Like we are a stressed out world. And so in order to get to balance our stress, we need to digest. When you own whatever you own, you become because we are creators. So when you would say, I told my mother, like she had an alcohol problem. I said, don't you ever say you're an alcoholic. I don't agree with that because then you become that. I said, you are a divine, light human being who's doing their best, who just, the world was a bit hard and you just needed that alcohol at the time to numb yourself because it was way too tough. And that's what I said to my mom. And I think for you, like, I just want to say, I research cells. I help people be healthy at a cell level because on all of those levels, body, mind, spirit, every emotion, it's all on the cell. It's all affecting the cell. And who's in charge of the cell in the end? We are. I can tell you, I share it in the book. It's crazy. We have so much power over, and it's called epigenetics, the new science, but we have tremendous power. So can you imagine, like you have to cancer. Let's just talk about that. Everybody has cancer cells. That's like a total illusion. I hate that they say you have cancer. That's baloney. You have an immune system that has become faulty. That's what you have. When the cancer gets out of control or when an autoimmune gets out of control, what that tells me from my scientific background, the immune system is not working properly. And you know what? It's amazing that so many people's immune system is doing as well as it is because there's a lot of influences on us right now that are that are tough on the immune system. And I can get into that. I talk about it in the book. The gut, the immune system are our friends when they're not in when and the mind, like the gut, the immune system, and the brain are all connected. And when any of those start to get out of balance, for any reason. It can be emotions, it can be our thoughts, it can be toxins, it can be not the right food, it can be the wrong storyline. This maybe we've disconnected from our soul purpose, whatever. It can be all of those things. Then the body gets out of alignment and gets into disharmony. And then the immune system gets tired, and then the cancer cells can just grow. And that's what happens. So, because if you see at a cellular level, and that's what I show my students, you see that a happy, healthy immune system can communicate, can talk. Actually, it's online. It's like a lot of systems right now are offline, which means at a cell level, there's no cell communication. And in order to know where the cancer cell is, I need to see it to get my immune system to kill it, right? Or if my body's attacking itself, why is it doing that? Why are my cells not knowing that that is me? Think about that. Well, it's because the cell communication has become faulty and it's not working properly and it's offline. You can look at it like online, offline. So if you want to be online, you need to eat proper nutrition. And we're not even guided in the new science of glycoscience to understand what the most important nutrient is. And it's not hardly in our food anymore. It's really crazy. So in this book, yeah,
I want to get into that, but I would love for you to just
yeah,
quickly, because Dr. Bruce Lipton,
yeah,
I studied him when I went back to college, the biology of
yeah,
belief.
yeah.
That's a big part of really the emotional connection to those cells that you're talking about, right? Like
And
tying,
yes, but he's
tying,
even more. He's really wonderful. I talk about him a lot. He's really talking about that every cell has consciousness,
yes, yes,
that it's like we are, and that we talk to it, that we talk to ourselves, but we do it through our subconscious.
yes. I wanted to touch on him, and then I do
Great.
want to talk about glycans.
Yeah,
Do you want to touch on that?
sure. So it's really quite interesting. So in the book, I try to explain and I give you like a cheat sheet at the end because I know not everybody's into science, and I know that with my students too, because they're all becoming coaches, so they're not all into science. But in the end, they all love it because they start to realize who they are at a physical level too. So every cell, you make 1 million cells a second, can you imagine? And every cell in your body needs the raw materials to make itself properly. We become what we eat, literally. Like, I wish someone had told me that years ago. Literally, that's everyone should know that. Who is, we're eating food and we don't even realize that when we eat something, we become it. So if you can imagine that the macronutrients, which are proteins, fats, and this is not every fat, these are the good fats, good proteins, and certain sugars, but not the bad sugars. They're not sweet. We're not taught about that either. We're only taught about the bad sugars. But these three components and nucleic acids make up every cell of our body. So if you don't eat it, it doesn't get made properly. If it doesn't get made properly, it can't function properly. structure is function. So it's like making a house without, you know, how the big bad wolf, like he could just blow the house down. Well, we were all in a very dire state in COVID because our houses weren't built properly. So imagine we knew how to eat properly and we ate the right things, and every government should be giving us what we need. It should not be made of guilt. They should be knowing what humanity needs and making sure we eat what we need to eat to build strong houses, to build a strong body. And that's just not happening. I have a vision of that happening one day, but right now it's not happening. In fact, I've even been to doctors and I've had gut problems. And I said, do you think this is years ago, of course, now maybe they wouldn't say that, but do you think it matters what food I ate? And they said, oh, no, it's probably genetic. It's probably genetic. And I left that office thinking that's not true. And that just fueled me more to do more research. So when I did the research, and the research is clear, we need these macronutrients. We need micronutrients, but the micronutrients like the vitamin and all the enzymes and everything else we need that support our body, they're supportive, you know, they're now, the governments knew that we were not having them, and they made the pharmacy is the one that owns most of the supplement industry. And now I found out through my research many years ago that most supplements are made of synthetic products, and that's not actually good for us because our body type, we are carbon based. We need, you know, we are saying we're all frequency, right? Everything's a frequency. Well, our body can only handle what frequency it knows. So if I suddenly give it a lot of toxins and things it doesn't know how to handle, it overwhelms the system. And so right now we see a lot of people taking vitamins, and at first it makes them feel better. But if they're on those synthetic vitamins for a long time, there's many studies that show it hurts them. So these are the kind of things I learned in my research, and I was just shocked. So I think, yeah, and the glycans, you asked about that, they are sugar structures, but they are not sweet. So they come from vegetables, they come from medicinal mushrooms, they come from kelp and seaweed, but truthfully, we're not eating enough of it. And so then this puts a lot of strain on the liver to make all these glycans. And if you look at a cell, and I show it in the book, it's so beautiful. I can maybe find it here, but if you look at a cell, it's made of these four things. It's made of these glycans. And I never knew it because I was taught the old biology and I didn't even know. In fact, when we were young, when we looked at the fuzz around the cell, to be quite honest with you, you know what we thought? We thought it was just, oh, that didn't matter. So we took it off. So we were only concerned with the proteins and the inside of the cell. But what we now know from Bruce Lipton, and that's what you were asking me, and this is what Bruce Lipton is known for. This is the cell membrane right here. And here, this yellow part are the proteins. I mean, the yellow is the fat. The blue is the protein. And this stuff on the top here, these are the sugars that are antennas. And they keep you online. They're the communication network. So this cell membrane, look at how membrane is spelled, is the brain of the cell. So you're constantly interacting with this and a field of energy. And because we are just energy, and the field is connected to these sugars. These sugars are constantly in all dimensions, and they're communicating with us what we need. So if they're not there, we cannot communicate. And if they're not there, they don't recognize cancer cells. They can't get rid of them. They start to, you know, kill your cells or attack your cells because they frankly don't see the difference. So this is why the science is so, so important. And all universities have a glycoscience department. Go look. Harvard, Johns Hopkins, they're all studying it, but they're studying it in terms of pharmacy, not nutrition. So we need to start, if we, you know, like, we need to ask questions. We need to keep, you know, I bring this information out on all levels to help humanity right now at this critical point to try to fill in the gaps of our knowledge. And I don't know everything. I'm going to tell you, I keep researching. That's why I'm in a PhD program. I want to keep learning because I think science and everything is about to change. as we get into this quantum reality that we're going into.
And here's a question. One thing that I've always said, a lot of individuals that I interview are very science driven. However, I know myself, science is not all knowing,
No,
science is not all
no,
proving. Science is one component of our wellness. We can't ignore it. However, it can't dictate true vibrancy and wellness, especially as we age, because it's just, I'm going to use an example, and this might be out there, but it's kind of like, it's kind of like how one thing that I do, which may be a scientific practice, let's say it's a medication, that might work for my body, but it might do your body harm.
yeah,
And I might find one research study that's very, very, very well researched, a great study. However, I might find another one that completely negates it.
very true.
So, I just want to make it kind of clear so that I understand it.
Yeah,
Your book has a lot of science, but you are blending the science with the spirit, with the soul, with the all of that together in your creator matrix.
yeah. So imagine that we used to think in medicine that everybody is one size fits all.
Yes.
Not true. That's an illusion. We are so different. Our DNA is different, our ancestries, our belief systems, everything about us is different. So that's the biggest mistake in medicine. Then the second big mistake in the last couple hundred years, and in my YouTube channel, I interview somebody who knew a lot about the changes that were done on all medical schools when we used to have more knowledge of the holistic, but we've become so reductionistic. We only see like a part here and we're missing the whole thing. So it's like, oh my goodness, you go to this doctor, he's like, I have no clue, but I can tell you about this one little part, but he doesn't know how this part relates to that part, and it's also chaotic. And also, so another big thing that happens, so we call this bio individuality. We
Yes.
all unique, and medicine needs to go there. Medicine needs to start treating everyone uniquely, and women are different than men. And a lot of studies are done on men. That's the one thing. The other thing is we have a system, a medical system that was based on chemistry. And we are not just chemistry. That is just one part of us. Physics, quantum physics, is showing us a whole nother side. And I think in the end, medicine is going to reflect quantum physics more than chemistry. And we're going to start to realize that the biofields and all of this that we have just neglected to study, because I can tell you, when I do healings like with energy on people, they feel better. So you can say, well, why did that happen? How did they feel better? I didn't give them a chemical. You see, I didn't give them a drug. They felt better. They felt even better than if I had given them a drug. So why? So that's what's going to happen. We're going to have this big shift to studying the quantum physics in a new way, our physical reality. And that's what Bruce Lipton is talking about.
What is the Enneagram? Am I saying it right? Enneagram theory? Is
Yeah.
that like human design? Like, what is it?
Okay, so they're different. They're both coming to help us to understand ourselves. They're not absolutes, by the way, they're just templates. So we have different templates that make us bio-individual, that make us unique. And one of them is what you said, the human design. And that human design is like kind of in the quantum, showing how how our energetic being reacts better with certain ways of living. Okay, that's the study there. But
Okay.
why I love the Enneagram is because we have a lot of problems right now getting along. We have a lot of problems with people and businesses being jealous, not understanding each other. in marriages, people trying to being unhappy because their husbands doesn't understand them, and I think I learned the hard way because my husband are usually you marry your opposite. So my husband and I are very different. And for a long time, we would try to make each other like us because we wanted to connect. See, humans want to connect. They really do. That's what we want. That's when you're in love and everything's great. You're connected. But over time, when you're married and you're like, oh, that's so irritating that he does that. And I don't do it that way. And I don't even think that way. So the Enneagram has 9 personality types. And it was just so liberating to understand it for me because when I understood my type, I understood what motivates me. And what motivates me is very different than my husband. I am a different number. I was always afraid when I was a little girl of not succeeding. My husband never even thought those thoughts. He was always wanting to control things. He's like a CEO type. And that just conflicted in the marriage sometimes, right? And now we laugh about it because we get it. We cannot change each other. We can just like laugh how different we are and see how that can blend to make, to build, to make a better version of us. But the Enneagram is so amazing. I mean, when you learn your type and then you see the people in your life, their types, you just get the story. You're like, oh, this is crazy.
I found that interesting because it was like, I mean, your book has like a bit of everything in it to just kind of, it's like it's giving you a template to be able to be healthier on all different levels. And it's really cool because there's nothing like that. Now, I think because we're almost at an hour, not that, we have to have a dead stop, but I want a final, I guess, summary on how you feel we as humans can achieve true wellness. How can we do that?
I think I think the most important thing is that you would like that. That has to be in your intention that you're going to be healthy and happy, and that you're willing to do the work to get rid of all the blockages to get there. So, in other words, you're willing to do the inner work to really love yourself enough to be facing the stories that you've done. You're not your stories. Nobody's a story. See, what happens is like you said, with the alcohol and all that, we think we're our story, and that is not true. We just have stories. You see, as a creator, we're just choosing a story, actually. If I take a job, I'm not the job. I just choose to have an experience with that job. If I choose a person to marry, I'm not like that person. I'm just choosing to experience the storyline with that person. So we are not our storyline. We are just pure love and light and creating our reality, and we can choose anything differently. So if you want to be healthy and happy, you have to start an exploration and say honestly, like, where in myself should I be focusing? Where could I become a better version of myself? And it doesn't matter where you start. Some people start with food, that's great. They want to just eat better and feel better. Some people start with their emotions. They want to understand why they feel sad. They want to work on that. That's fine too. Or they feel frustrated or whatever, and they want to learn how to reprogram our thoughts. They say, oh, my thoughts are just not good enough. I want to believe I'm amazing. I want to believe I can do anything. So I have to reprogram. So then they learn about how to reprogram. So I think it's a time of healing on this planet, and each person can choose what they're ready to heal. And we have to love each other through this process and stop judging because we're all in it together.
Beautiful. And I know that your book provides a lot of tools and you can kind of choose where you want to choose your own adventure, choose where you want to start and what resonates with you. So let us know where we can find you, Kathleen.
Yeah, so my organization I founded is called A Wellness Revolution, and I train these health coaches at a high level. They're going to help the medical system to coach holistically. They're going to help the change. They're all over the planet. I have done it almost 10 years. So I have students everywhere in all systems, either working with functional medicine doctors or having their own business or working in the hospital. So many different options right now, and it's just getting more and more and more as we realize we need more help, and doctors realize they need more help and they can't do it all themselves, nurses either. Okay, so that's one. And then if they would like the book, it's on Amazon, Your Creator Matrix. Um, that's pretty much it.
Great. Thank you
Yeah.
so, so much for coming. I really appreciate you. We had such a great chat, Kathleen.
No, thank you, Sandy. You're wonderful. Thank
Thank
you for
you.
having
I hope you enjoyed this episode. Be sure to share it with someone you know might benefit. And always remember, when you rate, review, subscribe, you help to support my content and help me to keep going and bringing these conversations to you each and every week. Join me next week for a new topic, new guest, new exciting conversations to help you live your best life.